In the winter of 1940, with the Blitz underway and the genuine possibility of ground invasion being planned for at every level of the British government, the Home Office and the War Ministry faced a problem that, honestly, no modern military doctrine had adequately addressed. How do you prepare a civilian population, tens of millions of people with no military training, limited weapons access and no experience of urban combat, to defend their homes, their neighborhoods and their families against a trained military force? The answer they developed, drawing on the tactical knowledge of veterans from the First World War, the Spanish Civil War, and colonial campaigns where small, irregular forces had successfully resisted larger organized armies, was documented in a series of civilian defense pamphlets, Home Guard training manuals, and instruction courses that, between 1940 and 1944, were distributed to millions of British civilians and absorbed by a generation that hoped never to use them, but prepared as if they would. That body of practical defensive knowledge, stripped of its era-specific context and examined for what it actually teaches about human psychology, physical security, and the dynamics of threat and deterrence, is honestly more applicable to the concerns of modern home security than almost anything produced by the contemporary security industry. This video is about what those wartime civilians were taught and why it still works. The context of World War II civilian defense is important because, well, it really shapes what the methods address. The wartime civilian defense problem was not primarily about defeating armed intruders in direct confrontation. It was about deterrence, delay, early warning, and the creation of defensive conditions that made civilian targets more trouble than they were worth for an organized threat. These are precisely the objectives of effective modern home security, and they are objectives that the wartime methods address with a directness and practicality that, honestly, the modern security product industry, which profits from selling cameras, alarms, and smart locks, rarely matches. The most effective home defense measures documented in those wartime manuals cost nothing and require no technology at all. Before we get into them, my free email list has guides that go deeper on practical knowledge like this. The link is in the description, and it's really worth your time. Now let's get into what World War II civilians were taught. The first and most important principle from the wartime civilian defense manuals is the principle of layered deterrence. The idea that effective defense is not a single line that either holds or fails, but a series of layers, each of which increases the time, effort, and risk required for a threat to reach the defended objective. Modern security thinking calls this defense in depth and considers it the gold standard of security architecture. The wartime Home Guard manuals called it concentric defense and documented it in terms of concentric rings around the defended home, an outer perimeter, a middle ground, and an inner defense, each with specific physical and psychological deterrence characteristics. The outer perimeter deterrents documented in the 1941 Home Guard manual include the management of ground cover and sight lines around the property, specifically the removal of concealment opportunities that would allow an approach undercover, combined with the deliberate maintenance of natural obstacles at access points. The principle is that a threat that cannot approach undetected and cannot move quickly through the approach zone will not approach at all if easier targets are available. This is as true of opportunistic modern burglary as it was of organized military approach. The early warning systems World War II civilians built from nothing, and why they outperform modern electronic alternatives in certain conditions. One of the most practically documented sections of the Home Guard training materials concerns improvised early warning systems, the simple, low-technology methods that civilian defenders used to create reliable advance warning of approach without the electricity, electronics, or communication infrastructure that modern security assumes. The relevance of these methods today extends beyond preparedness scenarios. Many of the principles underlying them are more reliable than their electronic equivalents in specific conditions, and several of them work in situations where electronic systems fail. The tripwire and audible alarm system, documented in multiple home guard manuals, is honestly the most widely described and, well, the simplest to understand. A fine wire or strong thread, stretched at ankle height across an approach path and connected to a collection of tin cans or other noisy objects suspended above, creates a reliable audible alarm. It requires no power, no signal, and really no maintenance beyond just checking occasionally for breakage. The modern version of this principle, which, by the way, several contemporary security consultants actually recommend as a supplement to electronic systems rather than a replacement, uses fishing line at ankle or shin height, connected to a simple bell or chime arrangement. Unlike PIR sensors, it cannot be triggered by animals passing at a different height. Unlike cameras, it does not require Wi-Fi or a charged battery. And unlike any electronic system, it continues working during power outages and cannot be disabled remotely. The wartime manuals describe positioning these systems at secondary approach routes, paths, garden gates, side passages, rather than at the obvious primary entry points where an intruder would expect and look for security measures. The ground observation and tracking methods described in home guard training are, less commonly discussed, but equally practical. The manuals describe the deliberate preparation of soft ground, raked soil, sand, or dampened ash in the approach zones around defended positions, specifically to record footprints and approach patterns. This was used in wartime to determine whether an area had been reconnoitered, whether someone had approached and withdrawn before any direct contact occurred. The modern application of this principle is the deliberate maintenance of a soft, trackable surface, a raked gravel path, a consistently damp flower border, or a sand area at a gate approach that records passage without requiring any technology. The pattern of marks in that surface tells you whether someone has approached your property, how they moved through it, and whether they returned on multiple occasions. It's information that camera footage provides only if you check it and only if it was captured at the right angle with adequate resolution. The psychological deterrence principles from wartime training really show why the appearance of preparation matters more than its reality. The most counterintuitive and, honestly, the most consistently documented principle in the wartime civilian defense literature is the primacy of psychological deterrence over physical resistance. The manuals, drawing on lessons from the analysis of what made certain civilian positions resist attack while others fell, consistently identified the appearance of preparation and alertness as a more effective deterrent than the physical capability to resist. An approach to a civilian position that showed signs of active habitation, recent maintenance, alert occupation, and awareness of the surrounding terrain was significantly less likely to be selected as a target than one that showed signs of absence, inattention, or vulnerability, regardless of the actual defensive capability of the two positions. The practical implications documented in the wartime training materials include the management of lighting, not to illuminate the defended position, but rather to control the contrast between the approach zone and the defended area. You see, a well-lit interior visible from the outside tells a potential threat exactly what is inside and where people are located. On the other hand, a lit exterior that illuminates the approach zone while keeping the defended interior in relative darkness actually reverses the advantage, allowing those inside to observe the approach zone clearly while reducing the information available to anyone approaching. This is, in fact, the exact principle behind the modern recommendation for dusk-to-dawn perimeter lighting directed outward rather than inward, a recommendation that most modern security advice gives without the wartime context that explains why it was developed. The wartime concept of the defended home as an active observation post rather than a passive barrier is perhaps the most important principle for modern application. The Home Guard manuals, described the systematic observation of the surrounding area, learning what normal looks like so that abnormal is immediately recognizable, as the foundation of effective civilian defense. A household that knows its neighborhood's normal patterns, knows which vehicles belong, knows which behaviors are routine, and notices when something does not match, that pattern has an early warning capability that no technology can replicate. The wartime civilian defenders who were most effective at protecting their communities were not those with the most weapons or the strongest doors. They were those who paid attention and communicated with their neighbors about what they observed. This is the neighborhood watch principle in its wartime original form, and it is as effective today as it was in 1941. Physical hardening techniques from wartime manuals. The structural modifications that cost little and work permanently. The physical hardening recommendations in the wartime civilian defense literature address the modification of existing structures to slow or channel potential threat movement, not to create impenetrable barriers which were not achievable with civilian resources, but to change the geometry of approach in ways that gave defenders time and tactical advantage. The most consistently recommended modification in multiple manuals is the management of entry points to ensure that all approach to primary entry points is through a controlled, visible and physically constrained zone, rather than through multiple unmonitored routes. Door and window hardening in the wartime literature is remarkably similar to modern recommendations, which reflects the fact that the physics of forced entry has not changed significantly. The manuals recommend cross-bracing of doors, diagonal reinforcement that spreads kick force across the door frame rather than concentrating it at the lock, as the most effective single modification for standard doors. Modern security testing confirms this. A well-braced door transfers kick force to the frame and the wall rather than to the lock hardware, and a properly installed door reinforcement kit achieves the same effect. The wartime method used whatever timber was available, nailed diagonally across the door interior. The principle is identical to the strike plate reinforcement and door barricade bar that contemporary security suppliers sell for modern application. The wartime recommendation for window management is the most consistently applicable to modern conditions. The primary security value of windows is observation, rather than light entry, and modifications that maintain observation while reducing vulnerability are preferable to modifications that reduce both. The installation of window bars or grills, recommended in the wartime literature for ground floor windows in defended positions, reduces vulnerability, but also reduces the observation and egress capability that windows provide. The wartime compromise was the reinforced shutter, a solid panel that could be secured from inside when threat was anticipated, but removed entirely in normal conditions. The modern version of this compromise is the heavy-duty interior window security film that holds glass together under impact, rather than allowing it to shatter into entry-facilitating fragments, maintaining the window's normal function while significantly increasing the time and effort required for glass break entry. Share this with someone who takes home security seriously. Subscribe if you are not already here, and check the free email list in the description.